Hello and blessings, beautiful coven of the Witch Weaver. Today I would like to talk to you about the 9-day sacrifice to Odin. This has been a conversation that has naturally evolved within the Facebook community, with many people asking questions. And so I thought that I would put together this video to help elaborate on what is expected and what could be suggested to each of you. Now keep in mind the following. This is your personal sacrifice. Therefore it is your choice. It is your decision. And it is your conversation between you and Odin. I am not here to dictate what should be offered, what should be sacrificed, but I would like to give you some tools in the form of ideas and some subjects or some thoughts up for consideration, things for you to contemplate to help you choose exactly which direction you would like to go and how you would like to approach this. So I'm also going to be sharing some past experiences of my own that may assist you in developing an idea of what is best for you and what could be tailored to suit you a bit better. Keeping, of course, that this has to be an intuitive progress and process. Something that you must sit down with and think about carefully, reflect upon, before you can formulate your final proposition to the All-Father himself. So let us begin. When it comes to the 9-day sacrifice, you are giving something of yourself. You are giving something that is present in your life, something that you may have considered doing prior to this, something that you may be struggling with, something that you might have an addiction to, whether you would like to realize that or not, something that has been holding you back, something that stands in your way. And this is all something that you have control over. It is not an external influence that you can actively sacrifice. It has to be an internal influence, an approach, a thought, a habit, a decision, a hobby, a task, something of yours that is up for offer. Okay, so think very broadly about this. You may sacrifice something that you use as a crutch, for instance, like potentially drinking alcohol or smoking or watching oodles of TV or being addicted to social media. These are things that you might want to look at, of course, and offer as a sacrifice. But just in the same way as you can sacrifice these types of habitual interactions, you can also give something that is a block or considered a block. Now take, for instance, let's say you have been wanting to approach your boss for a pay rise, something that you believe that you deserve. You may sacrifice your fear and step into a place of courage in the name of your interaction with Odin and do what it is that you have been fearing. So therefore you sacrifice that block to fear. You might also sacrifice other blocks to let's say lethargy or laziness, something that holds you back from everyday flow, from achieving a sense of purpose and industriousness, for instance, every day. So this might be something along the lines of too much social media. You might be hell-bent on putting pedal to the metal and doing the tasks that are demanded of your day, but yet you tend to procrastinate and you might find yourself on social media and you might be doing the things, you know. And so you can actually give up the block. You can give up that procrastination, and that can be your sacrifice. If you have a habit that you're trying to kick, then you can give up that habit as well. Take, for instance, I'm a nail biter. I go on and off in my life with nail biting. I've had long nails for many years, and then I begin biting again, and I haven't been able to quite actively identify what triggers it. But I know that it is stressful situations or anxious situations. And so I would like to give up the biting of my fingernails and instigate the long process of being a non-biter throughout this process of the 9-day sacrifice, being very, very conscious of it. Another thing that I'm aiming to do is to be a maker rather than a buyer. And what I mean by this is specifically in my home space and in my kitchen. I have a horrid aversion to cooking. I get very, very anxious and stressed out in the kitchen. And when the kids come in and they try to help me, I get a little bit panicky and I get a little bit And so I'm going to make that sacrifice of, instead of going out and purchasing all this food that's pre-made, I'm going to place myself in the position of being in my kitchen, making it all myself, and including my children in that process. This is, of course, my sacrifice of anxiety, my sacrifice of fear, my sacrifice of even a little bit of laziness, I guess, because sometimes it's more about the convenience of being able to go out and buy these things. So I'm sacrificing my time in this way because in order for me to achieve this, breakfast, lunch and dinner and snacks, for instance, I need to be very, very organized. And this means that I have to sacrifice this sort of like lack of organization, this, this disconnect with being sorted out for the day. And so it is about organizing. It is about structuring. And so I need to sacrifice the spontaneity that I am so cozy with, and I need to begin to structure. So I step out of this flow space, like the Fool card, for instance, the flow space, and I step into a more structured phase like the Emperor card, and couple that with the Empress card, because I'm looking to structure and organize, but I'm also looking to create. And so for me, I'm going to be working with those two cards, for instance, in the tarot, to assist me to align my focus. So when it comes to deciding your sacrifice, think very carefully about what it is that you are going to sacrifice for this 9-day period. And if you're going to use it as a booster, for instance, a head start in giving something up that you have been wanting to do for a long time. And so let's say for those who have been wanting to give up on refined sugars, which is my own personal sacrifice from a couple of years back, I used it as a time for me to give up, like a booster for me to give up refined sugars. So yes, I gave up for that 9 days, but I didn't just stop at the 9 days. I kept on going. And because I began the 9-day sacrifice, and the reasons that started me on that process of giving up refined sugars coincided with such a sacred task of giving this up for Odin, for deeper wisdom, I was able to hold on to that wisdom at the end of those 9 days and persevere with that. And I gave up sugar for a year and a bit. And then I finally introduced it back into my diet again, and I would like to give it up again, but I'm not going to hit too hard, and I'm not going to try and repeat things in this particular sacrifice. Like I said, I've been doing the 9-day sacrifice for years and years, and I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't worth it. And I have found certain nuggets of wisdom in having gone back there and repeating this process time and time again. And that is, yes, you can use it to kickstart a longer goal for yourself, something that you really want to kick off and or something that you really want to curb. And so I'm going to be using it to stop biting my fingernails. I'm going to kick that off, but I'm also going to be placing myself in that position where I've just described, of being in the kitchen and doing this. And I'm hoping that this will help to modify my behavior towards cooking, and towards cooking with my children most specifically, and creating a deeper sense of harmony in the kitchen, in the home. We have a tiny home. Our kitchen is pretty much half of the entire space. We have an area for eating, and for cooking we have an area for sleeping and for relaxing and watching, having some screen time, for instance. And so to create anxiety in that space contravenes on my home harmony and my home and hearth magic ideals. So it is about a deeper awareness and a deeper process that is going on for me personally. And so I would like for you to really dissect what it is that you are offering. You can go really light with this. If you're a person that has gone through tremendous hardships, for instance, I wouldn't recommend giving up anything that really crushes you at this moment in time, because you might find yourself in a very delicate state of mind, an emotional state. But pushing yourself just a little bit, pushing yourself to get motivated, pushing yourself to get out there, pushing yourself to exercise, pushing yourself to engage, pushing yourself to be creative, relinquishing fear, relinquishing stagnation, relinquishing unhealthy patterns, relinquishing what is it called, procrastination, for instance. These are things that you can look at doing. You can, as part of your sacrifice to Odin, be more specific. Let's say that you have been wanting to have a conversation with a person and it's been a very, very hard conversation. Then you can, as part of your sacrifice to Odin, prepare yourself to have that conversation, and have that conversation within that 9-day period. And that's something that you can look at as well, particularly if it pertains to something that is really holding you back, the unsaid thing, and that would be the time to do it. This is not me suggesting to you that you revisit revisit an issue that happened, 10 years ago, and it's still niggling at you. Of course, if you feel like that is the thing for you, then by all means go and do that. If you genuinely feel like that is holding you back, then get out there and do that. But I want you to keep it really relevant to the now, to where you are in the now. And if you find that your ideas of these 9-day sacrifices are edging back into the past, then perhaps it's healing that you need, and not necessarily to engage the 9-day sacrifice for that. You might need to soul retrieve. You might need to look at fragmented soul theory. You might need to cut cords and chakra hooks and do like a regressive thing in a past life, or even a soul contract thing in a current life. That is a totally different thing, and I don't want you to leech too much into the past there for this one, because that's not what this is all about. This is about the reception of wisdom, the unencumbering oneself of potential devices, habits, patterns, fears, etc., and opening the pathway to receiving wisdom. So when you look at this, what can you clear from your life to help you to listen more to nature, to help you to listen more to your inner voice, to help you to listen more to the collective wisdom and the collective conscious and unconscious that is going on around? What can you do? What is your ultimate distraction? What is a crutch that you lean on? What is? And that question is up to you to answer. And so when you think about this, give as much as you can to this process. Never push yourself to the point of discomfort, particularly if you are in a fragile state of mind. Push yourself into a point of discomfort, to a place where you are challenged by this task, if you are mentally, physically, and emotionally capable of doing that for 9 days. So if you're going to do a 9-day sacrifice to run 5 kilometers every single day for that 9 days, then make sure that you are physically fit to do that, or you might cause yourself an injury or some kind of distress. And if you are planning on doing a fast or a food cleanse, then make sure you do your research in order for you to do this in a safe manner. Okay, so sometimes just giving up on things is not going cold turkey on things is not the best way. You might find that you suffer withdrawal symptoms from that. And I can tell you, from someone who gave up sugar, refined sugars, for 9 days, I did go cold turkey and I got horrendous headaches. My productivity dropped, and this was something that I wasn't expecting to happen. Now, retrospectively, when I look back at it, of course it's going to happen. Sugar has much more of a grab on us than we realize, and it is a bit of a drug in that way, and it is a bit addictive. So the moment you give up something like coffee, sugar, cigarettes, you are going to go through a withdrawal period, and you need to be prepared for that. So this is something that you need to do your research on if you are going to go down one of those avenues that requires just that little bit more preparedness. You can use this time to prepare now. Put it that way, and just start, kick off the process very slowly. So let's say, for instance, if you were trying to give up cigarettes for that 9-day period, you may want to halve or even quarter the amounts of cigarettes that you are having right now. If you're doing the same with sugar, you may want to try that same approach out to start minimizing it before you go 100% cold turkey. So give your body a little kindness, give it some time to adjust. If it's something else entirely, then approach it with that same type of consideration. The idea here is, yes, to be uncomfortable, to feel as though you're giving. You're supposed to go through this process not with oh yeah, I'm fine. You're supposed to go through this process like this. Oh, I'm not supposed to bite my fingernails. Oh, I'm not going to call for lunch. I'm going to get off my ass and I'm going to make it. This means I need to prioritize and I can't do this. And you need to feel bothered. You need to feel like you're being pushed to do this every single day. Sounds a bit horrendous, doesn't it? For those who don't really like the challenge and don't like to be pushed. But this is about a challenge. Your 9-day sacrifice to Odin. It's not meant to be painful, it's meant to be meaningful. Okay, so remember that. It's not meant to cause you physical pain and distress. It is meant to make you think. It is meant to make you mindful. It's meant to make you conscious. It's meant to clarify your perception of self and to open up your sphere of consciousness so that you can receive that wisdom. So I sincerely hope that this video has been of benefit to you, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Questions below, all that kind of business. Now, one thing that I would like to say to you is I am not a practitioner of Asatru or Sadia. I have an utter appreciation for both modalities and a pantheon and this type of spirituality, right? Organized religious spirituality. Asatru can be seen as such, right? So I am going to be pulling from resources, which means I'm going to be quoting in my notes. I'm not going to be bothering to rewrite. I want you to get the pure source. I'm going to try and be as diligent as I can with leaving as many of the references down the bottom. It's not my intention to plagiarize. I would never, ever, ever do that. I'm very ethical as far as literature goes. So I want to try and give you as much as you can. But just know that I'm going to be contributing with my own original thoughts and ideas and my own stories. But I'm also going to be pulling references from books, from websites, from, you know, other avenues, and I'm going to place it all into a nice big document, and I'm going to attach it below this video so that you've got a bit of a head start. I'm going to touch on the Havamal, I'm going to touch on the story of Odin, I'm going to touch on you know, what I've done in the past and how I think that you should approach this. I'm going to touch on lots and lots of different thoughts and theories surrounding the Odin sacrifice, surrounding who Odin was, why he did it, where his stories are prevalent, and what I am offering to you in the form of what you might get out of this experience should you do this in a manner that, you know, is befitting to who you are and to your process. Now, what you put into this task, you will get out. If you're not prepared to do the work, if you're not prepared to push yourself, then you're going to get whatever kind of, you know, interaction and energy you put in, you're going to get that back out. If you are prepared to go hard at this task, to make it a priority, you might even want to be that serious about it that you slip it into a conversation like I did with my husband. I'm like, I'm doing a 9-day sacrifice to Odin again, Maddie, and I'm going to yeah, I'm going to be more present in the kitchen. And he's like, that's a good idea. And I said, oh, I might have a crack at my fingernails again. And he's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Then you can be held accountable. Not everyone can, of course, discuss this with friends and family, but I'm in the blessed position where I can. And so I utilize that as an external accountability measure for myself. So if you have people who support you, who support your practice, who support your process and your purpose doing this, if you have people that you can have this open and honest conversation with, then by all means go and have this conversation. Say, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do this for 9 days. And it really helps. You know, back north when I did this, you know, in my coven, in my group of people, and even in an open circle scenario, what I did was we shared what it is that we were giving to, you know, we were giving up, we were sacrificing, and what that created was this support system. And so if you want to share it within the Coven Facebook page, then by all means go, this is exactly what I'm doing. I've just shared mine with you. Don't feel like you need to share yours with me. Some people's sacrifices will be much more private, and if you don't feel comfortable sharing them, that's totally fine. Others will be a bit more public, and you may want to be held accountable. You may want people to go, how are you going with that? How did you go with that? How are you doing with that? And especially if you're associated with each other on different aspects of social media, you might be able to offer that support even a bit further. And so this is about creating interconnection and a support system. It is possible for me and us as a coven to support you even if you do not want to articulate what it is you're doing. All you need to say is, I don't feel comfortable, but this is a big deal for me, and this is a huge thing for me, and it relates to this, this and that. It could relate to fear, it could relate to habit, it could relate to a crutch, and we will offer you our love and our support in any way that we can and help you to feel comforted and inspired as you go through this process. Okay, so with all of that said and done, I'm wishing you guys so much love, luck, peace, and joy. Look after yourselves. I'm keen to hear your thoughts and your ideas on this, and for those who want to share, of course, their sacrifices, then by all means do so. See you later. Bye.